And welcome to The World This Week. I'm Annette Young, filling in for François Picard, who's on a well-deserved day off. Now, here with me in the studio, 4 journalists ready to chew the fat over what made headlines in the last 7 days. Joining me are Erin Zaleski, the Paris-based correspondent for the Daily Beast, France 24's very own Leila Jacinto. Exciting guest to have with us tonight is Sultan Al-Qasemi, a UAE-based writer and blogger. Welcome. And Turkish independent journalist Emre Demir. Welcome, and thanks to all of you for giving us some of your time. Well, it's been another week in Trump's America, and the headlines keep on coming. Be they about immigration, deportation, fury in Mexico, building a wall, or the replacement appointment of a national security advisor. Now, the American leader has just been speaking at the Conservative Political Action Conference, a gathering of hardcore conservative activists. Let's take a listen to what he just had to say.
So I'm not against the media. I'm not against the press. I don't mind bad stories if I deserve them. And I tell you, I love good stories, but we won't talk. I don't get too many of them. But I am only against the fake news media or press. Fake. They have to lead that word. I'm against the people that make up stories and make up sources. They shouldn't be allowed to use sources unless they use somebody's name. Let their name be put out there.
And there he is again, attacking us, the media. He also went on to mention that we are, of course, enemies of the state. Erin, first to you. Oh, what a difference a year makes. Because a year ago, he shunned this particular event, didn't he? And now he's come back as a star attraction.
Yes, he did. And again, the war with the press continues. And it's a bit disturbing, I think, as people who work in media, and I think also and a lot of people outside of media, in the States and in France that I've spoken to are disturbed by this rhetoric. There definitely seems to be a me versus them mentality that he's sort of taken to new heights, especially with the press conference on the 16th. I don't know if anyone tuned into that, but that was a slow motion train wreck as well.
Leila, this group is very much wary, as I said earlier, of Donald Trump, and certainly when he declared his candidacy, in their eyes, the reality was that he was never a conservative, and they all seem to be playing catch-up now, don't they?
Oh, yes. Look at him. He's back. And in fact, last year, he was not at this forum. But look, the Conservatives were out of power for 8 years. So in the Obama years, they were in the dark. And now they have a winner, and they are just falling in line behind him. The few odd ones who are still sticking it into him, like John McCain, etc. The sort of old school conservatives are old and dying. So this is the man, and this is the platform that is giving them some vitality. They know that they're deeply uncomfortable with it, but we are not seeing any real resistance from the conservative movement. So this is what the conservative movement is for now. It's probably good news for the Democrats and the left, but this is definitely the future of the conservative movement. The sort of Tea Party, the marginals have taken over this movement.
There's also a segment in the conservative movement that has been mistrustful of the mass media for a long time, and I think this knee-jerk response, this has sort of become this rallying cry. Fake news is exploiting that a bit. It's using that to his advantage. That mistrust that's been a part of or within a segment of the party for a while.
Now, Sultan, one of the star speakers at this event was Stephen Bannon, the president's key advisor, and to quote him, everything is going according to plan, with the deconstruction of the administrative state having just begun. Are these empty words, or do you think we are starting to witness the beginning of a coup?
Well, I believe if Trump is able to carry forth the next 4 years, I think that we will see a very different Republican Party at the end of this 4 years. I think that Trump is actually defining what the Republican Party is. Even by attending this conservative conference, I think he's also moving the polls. He's also moving what the expectations are. And we are in less than a month, is it? Or a month
Feels
or
like
so.
4 years already.
Yeah, it feels like 4 years. So things are moving very, very fast. But Bannon isn't the most popular person. Even within the Republican Party, he isn't the most popular. And I think there will be a clash between him and some of the members of the administration.
And also, I mean, the old school conservatives like John McCain are gaining ground. I mean, if you look at the appointment of McMaster, we have now McMaster as the National Security Advisor, Mattis at the Pentagon, Tillerson at the State Department. So we have now three rational professionals
They're called
on
the
the key
grown-ups.
foreign policy. And the conservatives like McCain are very happy about these appointments. So McMaster is the opposite of Mike Flynn. So, I mean, there is this sort of war between the old school conservatives and the guys like Bannon.
Emre, I just want to say, as a Turkish journalist watching this, especially as you see these events unfold in America, what do you think, especially given that Erdogan, your own president, is very much a strongman?
Well, Erdogan, we can qualify him as a proto-Trump. You know, we are used to all of this. You know, it's a little bit ironic, but when I see American journalists, my colleagues, who have been shocked with this, you know, the enemy of state, the media is the enemy of state, this type of declarations. I mean, we are used to it. We're living with this since 10 years, almost 10 years. So, I mean, we were all expecting from Erdogan a rational turnout, but it seems like Erdogan is exporting his political model to other countries. So I see a lot of common points between Erdogan, Trump, Le Pen.
And it's not just Erdogan, though. There's also somebody called Vladimir Putin, who's way ahead of all, I would say.
His role model.
I just want to, you know, to the point that you made, Emre, about, you know, he has some sane people on his team. Yes, but, you know, his administration is in such disarray. Look what happened in Mexico. You know, you had Tillerson and Kelly saying, you know, not mentioning the wall. You know, Trump tweets it's a military operation. You know, then Kelly has to say it's not a military operation. Then his White House spokesman says military operation is an adjective. So, I mean, it remains to be seen, like, what the voices of sanity are going to do. You know, in the long run, U.S.-Mexican relations are in the toilet. So yes, they have voices of sanity, but if there is such disarray within the administration, it's not good for the U.S. and it's not good for relations.
I'm also interested to see how it's going to play out with McMaster, because he's been a Russian hardliner for quite some time. I mean, he's known for that. He led an army study recently about was quite, you know, how to combat the Russian state. And then we have Trump and his relationship with Putin and is being rather soft on Russia. So I'm curious to see. I mean,
But then we have Bannon on the
lock
National
horns?
Security Council.
And he has also a very different opinion regarding to Muslims, to Islam. He doesn't see Islam as an enemy. So we have now on the one side Bannon and the other side McMaster.
This is what I want to come back to you, Erin, because picking up on a point said earlier, why aren't more Republicans standing up to this, especially given the extraordinary confusion that is emerging from this administration? We're getting conflicting messages, not every week, but not even every day, but on the hour.
It is a good question, and I can't help but wonder if there are things going on maybe people haven't publicly spoken, but it just begs the question as to whether there are things going on behind the scenes that we're not yet aware of, that are not being made public, and whether the divisions are more pronounced than what's being revealed to the media and revealed to the public.
Leila, are we underestimating this administration, though? I mean, or more to the point, are we underestimating Stephen Bannon? Because this is a very determined individual.
I don't know. I mean, on the one hand, he does seem like the Grim Reaper, and his performance at the Conservative Council was utterly scary. You know, this constant harking of the deconstruction of the administrative state. But I don't know, but I could be famously wrong. But I just get the sense that, you know, these seem like drunken frat boys at the end of a party tipping cows, but they do not know how to run the farm. You know, yes, how can you deconstruct the administrative state? Yes, of course, you know, you're Mr. Goldman Sachs, but, you know, negotiating trade deals, negotiating the global financial order requires some really tough brains, and we are functioning in an international economy. So it sounds extremely disingenuous to me. He's rallying his home crowd. Let's face it. I mean, the U.S. has strong civil institutions. We have strong men in India, we have strong men in Turkey, but even though these are quote-unquote democracies, they really don't have the sort of strong civil society and civil administration that the U.S. has. So yes, there will be some very alarming changes, but the pushback started the day after the election. So I think this is a bit of show.
Sultan?
I think you can. I think what Trump has shown us in the past month is that you can have two messages simultaneously, and they go to two different crowds, and everybody believes these messages. So he sends Tillerson to Mexico. He tweets sort of derogatory terms, comments about Mexicans, but then he reassures the Mexicans through his Secretary of State. The same thing with Russia. He goes to Europe. He reassures the Europeans about Russia, but at the same time, he maintains good ties with Putin. So there's a duality here, and I think that there is something to say about his messaging. It exists.
I would say, as a former Middle East correspondent, it does remind me of certain Arab leaders who would say something very different in public compared to what they would say privately. I mean, is this something you would agree with?
Yes, certainly. It's something in private that is different than what they say in public. They would say something in English that is different than it is in Arabic. They would, find ways to get their messages across, and it's worked. This is the era of populism, and Americans really didn't invent this. This has been going around in the Middle East. It's been going around in parts of Asia, parts of Africa. It's very popular for the past few decades. So it's just worrying when you see Western countries sort of falling like a domino, one after the other, to this age of populism.
How is Trump viewed in the UAE?
I think Trump is very popular in the Gulf states. So,
despite the Muslim ban?
Well, he hasn't banned anyone from the Gulf states.
Yet.
So he has not yet. So he's very popular because he says all the right things about Iran, for example. So his Iran rhetoric is very confrontational, and that is something that resonates well with the Gulf states. He's also been very supportive of Sisi, for example, the president of Egypt, and this is something that also the Gulf states, they look favorably upon. He's also friendly with Jordan. He's friendly with the countries that they are allies with. So I think he's very popular. I would not be surprised to see Trump visit one of the Gulf states in the next few months, to be honest.
Emre, do you think Erdogan will have the sort of relationship with Trump that he has with Putin these days?
Well, when he got elected, Erdogan was very happy. He's expecting considerably more positive relations with Trump than Hillary Clinton. He didn't get along with Obama, so he was waiting for this. But yet, we don't know yet how will it evolve, these relations between Trump and Erdogan. They are much very alike, but there are some subjects, especially the Kurdish-controlled regions in Syria, or the other subjects that create some tensions between two leaders. But for now, Erdogan's very happy to see Trump at the White House.
Aaron, the Democrats are meeting next week, and in the meantime, the word is out. No more Mr. Nice Guy, no more conciliatory gestures towards the Republicans. It's now all-out war. A bit too little, too late?
Maybe. I'm interested to see how it's going to play out, and perhaps it was a little, too late. I think people needed to. If you've seen the general outrage within the population with all the protests and so many people. With some of the judges, the state judges coming forward to block his travel ban, I'm surprised that the Democrats weren't more vocal about what was happening.
Leila, do you think, given the enormous divisions within the Democrats, they're going to be able to ever unify?
I have to predict the future. Fine.
That's why you're here, Leila.
I would imagine, yes. I would imagine that, the Democrats would be really snatching defeat from the jaws of victory if they do not take the exceptional levels of mobilization and take it forward. And I think Trump is is alarming enough to get the party together. I mean, they are asking themselves very serious questions of how could Hillary Clinton not be sitting in the White House. So I would hope that it would work to the Democrats' advantage.
Sultan, what would you think is going to happen in terms of the opposition? If anything, do you think they'll be more unified, given that this is a very divisive figure who's now leading the country?
What options do they have? In fact, they contributed to this loss that they had. All they have now is stall tactics. All they can do is try to make it as difficult as possible for him to implement the changes that he wants. But what is it that they can do? They cannot stop him from nominating a conservative to the Supreme Court. They cannot stop him from implementing some of his outrageous ideas. But they can try and stall. Will that be very popular? I'm not sure, because he can always turn it against them. He can always say, look, I want to bring back your jobs. I want to create jobs for you. It's the Democrats who have been stopping me. And guess who's been winning this argument in the past year? It's Trump.
Emre, certainly when it comes to the opposition in your country, I mean, we saw what happens there if people stand up and speak out too loud, don't they?
Well, hopefully Turkey and the United States is not we don't have the same situation. But regarding to the Democrats, I mean, if you look at what happened after the election of Obama created the Tea Party movement. So I guess that strong opposition against Trump will create a more radical, more outspoken democratic opposition in the United States.
What's really disturbing about Turkey, again, I'm certainly not an expert on Turkish geopolitics, but the fact that in recent months, about 130 media outlets have been shut down. So it's taking war with the press to an entirely
What
new
I
level.
find really interesting is, Erdogan is, the speaker of the Muslim world, and he's been noticeably silent on the travel ban. He is not taking this on. And even on Syria, actually, Erdogan, his big concern is the Kurds. And I don't think Donald Trump is, the Kurds have fulfilled their mission right now. So I think Erdogan and Trump are sort of, they understand each other, and it's going to be a good partnership. I think Ankara is happy with this.
Okay, well, look, I'm afraid that's the end of part one. Do stay with us because there is part two, and we'll be back after a very short break.